My fiancée came out as bisexual, and said her repressed desires were the reason she cheated on me, but once a cheater always a cheater, so now I'm leaving her to be by herself. Posted by you/I can't touch ground. My fiancée, Betty, 27F, and I, 30M, got engaged in January after dating for a couple of years. Our plan was to get married next year once we had saved enough money for the wedding. Shortly after getting engaged, we moved in together at the end of January. In May, Betty was a bridesmaid for one of her friends, but I was unable to attend due to my job and the fact that it was a 5-day trip. Betty had a great time reconnecting with some of her old friends, but a couple of weeks after she got back, she became moody and withdrawn. I was relieved when she made an appointment with a therapist since she hadn't opened up to me about what was troubling her. After about 5 or 6 sessions, she sat me down one Saturday morning so we could talk. Betty had been raised in a very conservative household and had to suppress her desires until she moved out to go to college. Even then, certain ideas she denied and refused to embrace. At the wedding, she was introduced to the wife of one of her girlfriends from college, and it triggered a lot of repressed desires over the days they all hung out before the wedding. She told me she felt romantic and intimate attraction to women as well as men and realized she was bisexual. I told her I was happy she finally felt safe sharing this with me, and it didn't change how I felt about her. It was a very emotional moment. She asked me how I felt about her exploring her sexuality now that it was out in the open. I said I was open to exploring it with her and possibly having a 3-way with another woman to let her have that experience. She wanted a one-on-one experience with another woman and felt she couldn't do that with me present. I told her that sounded more like an affair and was something I wasn't comfortable with. I asked her if she wanted to cancel the wedding and maybe separate while she figured out what she wanted to do. She was adamant that was not what she wanted. She said she was still very much in love with me and still wanted to get married, but she felt like she had to explore these feelings she was embracing before we settled down together. I asked her if she had done anything inappropriate at the wedding and cheated on me. I asked if she had someone in mind or had been talking to someone since she came back. She admitted to dancing with a girl at the reception and said they kissed at the end of the night, but nothing else happened. She denied talking to anyone or pre-planning anything. She knows this was a lot to throw on my plate all at once and didn't expect an answer right away. She just asked that I keep an open mind and keep talking about it. I couldn't promise anything, but I agreed to do some research and talk to a workmate who has an open marriage to see how they cope. I did warn her that if I found out she lied or was doing anything behind my back, there would be no second chances and I would leave. My workmate has been super helpful and open about their relationship. My brother got me into a support group that has helped me come to terms with the changes in our relationship. I'm burning through my second book and sat Betty down Thursday night to check in and talk about moving forward. I found us a couples therapist, gave her the book I had finished, and told her we should postpone the wedding for 6 months and then decide if that's still the path we want to take. I was on a roll when she stopped me and asked if I was planning on dating other people, as it had never occurred to her that I would be dating as well. She kind of shut down after that, barely giving one-word answers when I asked her something. I think the longest sentence I got was, "I just don't know." She has been like that for 24 hours now, like she is lost in a fog. I'm just bracing myself for the inevitable flood of emotions. I would have thought she would be happy that I was considering opening our relationship. Update 1 day later. Saturday night, her fog lifted, and things got pretty heated. She said that the open relationship was my way of punishing her and being vindictive by dating other women. She claimed she was just asking for some grace to explore her feelings. I replied that she showed almost no remorse for cheating on me and instead expected an open-ended hall pass to do so again. I told her our friends had informed me that she asked them not to say anything about what happened at the wedding, so I would probably never know the full truth and just had to accept that it was worse than she admitted. I asked if she thought it was fair to go have bedroom intimacy with other people while I waited by the door like a lovesick puppy, expected to wag my tail when she decided to come home and show me some attention. It devolved after that, and some hurtful things were said by both of us. I finally gave her 3 options if she wanted to move forward. 1. Monogamy, postpone the wedding and go to couples counseling. No experimenting. When we get to a good place, we can proceed with the wedding, along with a prenup to protect me if she changes her mind or cheats again. 2. Open relationship, we can both date whoever we want, and she can figure out her sexuality on her own terms. In a year or so, we can see if marriage still seems like a good option if we're still together. 3. Full separation, she moves out, and we each live our lives as we see fit. If she decides she wants monogamy with me and I haven't moved on, we can try option number 1. But it would be a new beginning, not just picking up where we left off. She decided she needed some space to think things through and is going to stay with friends for a couple of days. Before she left, I told her that if she accidentally cheated while she was gone, not to come back except to pick up the rest of her things. This morning, I got a text from her saying, "I'm so sorry." She didn't answer when I asked her what she meant, and my call went to voicemail. I'm not going to reach out to her again and will wait for her to contact me when she's ready. Second update 1 week later. I previously posted here when my fiancée announced she was bisexual and had made out with a woman at her friend's wedding. On Wednesday, Betty went to her previously scheduled appointment with her therapist and told her what had happened between us. I'm not sure what all was said, but she called me on the way to her friend's house, apologizing for some of the things she had said and wanting to come home to talk things out. I told her to stay at her friend's house that night, think about what she wanted, and then she could come home on Thursday so we could sit down and work things out. On Thursday, we met at the house and talked over dinner. We both apologized for getting heated and saying some unfair things to each other. After talking to her therapist and having several conversations with her best friend over the last few days, she decided not to explore her bisexual urges. The idea of a truly open relationship, where I was free to sleep with other people, terrified her, and getting married was more important than chasing the rainbow. Her original idea had been to have a free pass to see if she was missing something in her life and how important it was to her. I asked if she was asking for a one-night stand, just dating a woman, or having a full relationship. She couldn't tell me exactly what she wanted. I said that didn't sound very monogamous to me or very fair. She agreed, and that's why she was giving up on exploring those feelings. Next, she brought up the notes I sent out canceling our save the date notices for the wedding. She said she was getting all kinds of calls about what happened and was caught off guard, not even knowing what people were talking about at first. She was upset that I did that without talking to her first. I reminded her that she had dropped 2 grenades in my lap, coming out as bisexual and admitting that she had cheated on me, then left and wouldn't talk to me, except for a cryptic "I'm so sorry" text followed by silence. While I never said anything other than that we were having issues and had to postpone the wedding, there was evidently speculation that she had cheated on me. She switched gears and said we could still get back on track and get married next spring. I told her no, because now, whenever one of us is out of town, my mind will be thinking about her cheating again, especially after she came out and wanted to have an affair to explore her sexuality. I said maybe, after couples therapy, we could get back to a good place again, but not by the end of the year. It would be foolish to start planning and making financial commitments before we even knew if therapy was going to work. I also told her I wanted a prenup to protect everything I brought into the marriage, as well as my future retirement savings. Plus, she would forfeit any equity if we bought a house. When she protested, I said, if she planned to be faithful and not change her mind later, it would never be an issue, just something to give me peace of mind. It's been an ongoing conversation for the last few days. Betty wants to rug sweep the incident at the wedding and move forward with our wedding. In her opinion, exploring her sexuality is not worth sacrificing our relationship. For now, we are back together and planning on counseling soon. In a moment of post-clarity, I realized that I rushed to embrace the idea of an open relationship to give Betty the freedom to explore her new feelings, but I'm no longer as willing to consider that option. I think separation is the better choice, breaking up, if you will, until we both decide what direction our future lies in and whether it's with each other. It's not what I want, but I also don't want to spend the next 3 to 5 years together only for her to change her mind or cheat on me one day. Edit. Chasing the rainbow was her analogy, not mine. I didn't have a problem with her sexuality, the problem was that she cheated. Granted, she only made out with someone, but then she wanted permission to have bedroom intimacy with someone else. Whether male or female, that's unacceptable in what I thought was our monogamous relationship. Being bisexual doesn't give you the right to have bedroom intimacy with someone else while you're already in an exclusive relationship, it just means you're attracted to twice as many people. We have counseling scheduled to see what's best for us. Until we firmly resolve this issue, we won't be getting married. I don't want to deal with cheating or the possibility of her wanting to open the marriage years down the line, only to end up getting divorced. Third update 2 weeks later. What a crappy week. Counseling started off badly. As soon as we walked into the office, I noticed a large pride flag on the wall, and our therapist seemed very biased toward my girlfriend's predicament. She glossed right over the cheating and jumped straight into how I needed to better support Betty's awakening and help her on her journey. Betty is the one who's confused, and apparently, I'm not giving her a safe place to explore who she is. Nothing about my feelings or needs was addressed. To make matters worse, when the therapist was piling on me, I looked to Betty to stand up for me or say something positive, but I got nothing. That part hurt me the most, and I pretty much shut down for the rest of the session. Toward the end, the therapist did try to re-engage with me, clearly realizing she had completely lost me. On the drive home, Betty tried to talk to me, and I just gave her the same 3 answers I kept repeating to the therapist: sure, nope, and maybe. This was the therapist that her individual therapist recommended to us. The next day, I got a call from Betty's mom at work, asking why we were postponing the wedding, mentioning that her family and friends had already started making plans. I told her she needed to discuss that with her daughter. She kept badgering me, and eventually, I told her that Betty made out with someone at her friend's wedding, and that's why things were on hold. Then I hung up on her. Less than an hour later, Betty called me, demanding to know what I had told her mom. I said I told her that she kissed someone at a wedding and that we were trying to work through it. I didn't mention Betty coming out to me. I told her she needed to sit her mom down and tell her the whole truth, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So, I get this text from her mom telling me I need to suck it up and move past this, even implying that I might be at fault for not going to the wedding with her. It was a huge text, basically giving me a lecture and trying to tell me what I need to do. When Betty got home from work, I showed her the text and told her she needed to do something about her mom, or I would enlighten her with the full story of all our problems the next time she tried to tear into me. Betty said she would handle her mom and made me promise to give her some time to tell her everything. Also this week, Betty has gotten very protective of her phone. Yeah, major red flag. I went to charge my phone and unplugged hers to plug mine in, and she practically flew across the room to snatch her phone out of my hand. Later, I managed to sneak a look at her phone while she was asleep, only to find she had changed her access code, something she hadn't done since we'd been together. I went online and checked our phone bill and saw many lengthy calls to a Colorado area code, which I found out is where the girl she kissed is from. I'm just mentally exhausted at this point, the gaslighting, the lying, and feeling like I'm constantly treading water. Lately, when we've been intimate, there's a lack of passion in her that used to be there before all of this. I feel like I'm being love-bombed, but without the actual feeling behind it. It all just feels like hollow words and empty gestures. Tomorrow, we're going to a cookout at her parents' house. I'm going to try to keep my cool and not say anything, crossing my fingers. But when we get back, I'm telling Betty I'm done. I'll give her the choice of keeping the apartment or moving out. She'll be free to explore and find what truly makes her happy, it just won't be me. I came clean with my parents and a few friends about this whole mess. My tribe is ready to support me and help with the move when I need them. Dad vetoed Mom's offer to move back home and said what I really need is a new puppy, definitely too old to live with my retired parents. Weirdly, I feel peaceful now that I've made up my mind. To all of you who told me so, you were right. Time to move on with my life. Commenter. I'd be tempted to leave a review on the therapist somewhere. Something short like, my fiancée cheated on me at a wedding and continues to call the person she cheated with. This therapist told me I needed to support my fiancée's exploration of other people rather than addressing the betrayal. At the very least, I'd want to make sure the therapist knew this is why we wouldn't be coming back. Therapists can't improve without knowing when they've messed up, and I guarantee you this therapist messed up. Anyone in your personal life that you tell about the infidelity, I'd recommend clarifying that it wasn't just a one-time thing, and that she continued to call and have an emotional affair with the person. Sorry that your fiancé is literally having an emotional affair right now, and the therapist you were sent to was the wrong choice. I wish you luck. Ops response. I like your review, but I'm unsure where I would post it. Our therapist definitely had an agenda, but if we don't show up for the next session, she already knows the reason. After browbeating me for most of the session, she realized I had checked out and spent the last 10 to 15 minutes trying to get me to re-engage. She tried to shake my hand as I left, but I just silently got up and left her office. I haven't confronted Betty about the phone calls yet, but I plan to ask her about them tonight before I tell her we're done. My family and friends, who I told yesterday, know about everything, including the calls. For now, my stress levels are surprisingly low now that I know what I want to do. My sister will be at my house when we get back and plans to stay at least the night while I tell Betty my decision. Fourth update: one day later. Betty and I returned early from a cookout at her parents' house. I had planned for my sister to be at our house when we got back as a witness but had to wait a couple of hours for her to show up. Once she arrived, I got us all in the living room and told Betty I couldn't do it anymore and was throwing in the towel. I said I had lost all trust in her, couldn't see a way forward, and that the best choice was for us to go our separate ways. Betty couldn't understand what I was saying and insisted she had been honest since her confession about what happened at the wedding. I asked if she had been in contact with the girl she kissed at the wedding, and she denied it. I asked to see her phone, and she refused, saying it would violate her privacy and the privacy of the people she had talked to. I said, fine, so who did you call with a 720 area code? Maybe I should call and see who answers. It doesn't really matter, though, because it proves my point. I gave her the choice of either moving out or staying, and I would move out. I also said I would give her back what she had contributed to our savings account for the wedding. She tried to get my sister to leave or get me alone to talk, but I told her I had been advised to have a witness present, just in case. She went from crying to being angry, and after about an hour and a half, we finally had a calm conversation about everything. We talked until almost midnight. This morning, Betty decided to move back to her parents' place temporarily, and the three of us packed up her things. While we waited for her dad and brother to come pick up her stuff, she tried to convince me to see a different counselor and give therapy another chance. But I told her it was just a waste of time, I could never trust her again, and that's no way to live. Not much of an ending. Op in the comments. Well, she's gone for good. All of her stuff is out of the apartment, and she got her share of the money we were saving for the wedding. I've blocked her on everything and have no plans to contact her again. I don't need closure, apologies, or explanations. She's made several attempts to reach out to me through friends and at work. The people at work know not to bother me and don't even take her messages anymore. When friends ask, I politely explain why I won't take her back, and they usually understand and drop it. I've had to block a couple of people who kept pressuring me to talk to her.